So I'm going to scan through now and look at the questions that have come in, and you can keep asking those questions as we go along here. And I will answer those and stay on as long as you like. If you need to drop off, I totally understand, but I will answer these questions as long as these questions keep coming in. Trevor from Ottawa works, that's just saying, Trevor works at Light 98.5 and Evanoff Communication Station. Good friends at Evanoff. Did a seminar for our morning show when I was at Q92 Montreal. Yes, I did. That's correct, Ted. Thank you for that. A lot of people saying who they are and where they're from. There's Jessica from Hibbing. Greetings from Orlando. There's a lot of people from Orlando, Southwest Florida. Here's some more. I'm looking for the first questions. Hi, Dave Mason's on, just up the street here from San Diego. Great broadcaster who's voice tracking a lot of places around the country. By the way, Radio Content Pro is for voice trackers too now. There's a brand new service just for voice trackers. So you might want to check that out and contact them for that. All right, here's the first question. Rick Stevens says, is there a specific AI program that you're referring to? No. And I stay away from recommending any of the specific AI programs because, for one thing, they're changing all the time. And each of the AI bots, whether it's ChatGPT or Grok or Microsoft Copilot or Claude from Anthropic, they all have strengths and they all have weaknesses. Each of them is unique in its own way. Each of them do some things better than the others. My general recommendation, if you're just starting out, is go with ChatGPT. It's the biggest in the space. It's there first. And one of the things that you'll find is that all of these services leapfrog one another. Anthropic Claude just came out with a new version of their software called Sonnet just a few days ago. And it's a giant leap forward. And by the way, Claude is an Anthropic company, but it's got Amazon behind it. So they've got a lot of development that's going into it. And Claude is great for some things. Sometimes I use Claude for creating questions for trivia games or coming up with new ideas for games. But if I looked at Claude for doing research, it hallucinates a lot and gives me bad information back. So ChatGPT is much better for that. ChatGPT is the biggest. It's the best funded. It is the one that is probably going to, it's not going away. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best or the biggest, but they're about to come out with another new version. It'll be 5.0, and that will leapfrog all of the others, and it'll be number one for a short period of time. So my suggestion is use them all. Try them all, figure out which one works best for you and the ones that you feel most confident that fit your personality, that you interact with the best, that does the things that you want it to do, and go with that one. Or go with a couple of them. They're not that expensive. You can subscribe to all 4 or 5 of the biggest ones for about less than $100 a month. And so try them all. And if you find that you're not using some of them more than others, then you can cancel them. A private question came in, said, I've heard that Claude is better than ChatGPT. Is that true? I kind of just answered that based on my experience. There are some things that I like it for more than ChatGPT, but for the most part, ChatGPT is my go-to. I've been using Copilot more over the last few weeks because it's integrated into the Microsoft products so well. And I love what Copilot does on Edge. If you use the Edge browser, it has Copilot on board with it, and it turns out some really good feedback with that as well. Jessica says, I've been using it to get started on commercials when I'm stuck, but now I'm going to use it for a lot more. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. Kevin says he just got 10 teases for his Hawaii family getaway promotion. You guys, here's another plug for Radio Content Pro, but you should get a demo of Radio Content Pro just so you can see the teases. They are absolutely awesome. And teasing is one of the hardest things for personalities and stations to do because it's a grind and it's hard to be creative. And by the way, it's really hard to write prompts to get truly great teases. When we were developing Radio Content Pro, the developers, and I was giving input to the developers. I'd like to say I was developing it, but I'm not that smart. I was helping the developers and giving them some input, and some of the prompts that we ended up with to get the personality right and the target audience right ended up being 500 and 600 words long. Those are long prompts, but again, the more specific, the clearer, and the more focused, the more narrow the input, the better the prompt that's going to come out of it. And that was a lot of back and forth. We spent about 10 months of developing those prompts that are turning out some amazing teases and amazing phone topics and amazing news stories in Radio Content Pro. And by the way, that work continues because, like I said before, as the algorithms change and as the software versions are released by the various companies, you've got to constantly keep updating that. Let's see. Grammarly has a voice generator. I did not know that. I use Grammarly all the time. Thanks, Ace. I'm going to have to check that out. I didn't know Grammarly had a voice generator. I'm going to check that out. You can use Natural Reader for voices. In other words, if you want to use voices, I'm not going to get into voices because this is more about prompting, but using if you're going to use voices, check into 11 Labs. They're terrific. This might be a dumb question. This is coming from Chris. Might be a dumb question, but says, who is responsible for the IP rights for the data provided through AI when we use these answers from AI on air, online, and on social? Talk to your legal department because every company is interpreting this differently, Chris. I believe that you don't have any type of intellectual property rights problems, because you're really using AI for research. You're not plagiarizing. You're not copy and pasting. And by the way, Radio Content Pro is the same thing. The AI bots recreate all of the content into original material, and they're using the online source as research. It's the same thing that you're doing right now with a show prep service. Same thing you're doing right now every time you access any website and find something that you want to talk about on the air. You're just using a machine to help you do it, to make you more efficient. So I don't think there should be any difference in that unless you're copying and pasting or claiming that something as yours that is not yours. Then you're going to run into intellectual property rights. But you're not going to get it from the services, especially if you're paying for the services, because that's part of what you pay for. Melanie says, several good questions in Q&A. Can you move your picture to see the full URL for the download? Yeah, you know what, Melanie? I will turn off my video so you can see the URL for the download. And you also should see a box for the for the button that you can download that from. Let me make sure that is, oh, I have not activated it. Okay, now it should pop up on your screen where you can download. There's a button that you can download the slides for free. So you can either take the URL, which is Radio Content Pro /prompting, or just click on the button that I just put up on your screen, and you'll be able to get it from there. Do you think listeners should be informed that content is created by AI? I do not. I don't think that they should be informed of that any more than I think you should mention that you're using a voice actor as a contributor in a phone conversation, or that you got this trivia question from www.greattriviaquestions.com. I don't know why you would say that, and I don't know why you would attribute it to AI. It's your content that you're gathering, that you're curating, that you're getting from some other source. I don't know why you would go on the air and say, here's some things that we think about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift today. And by the way, we got this information from a service we subscribe to called Radio Content Pro. I don't know why you would say that. So I don't know why you would say that or attribute that and inform them that the content is created by AI. Now, it's different if you're using AI voices as radio personalities. And that is coming. Again, I'm not going to go into that rabbit hole because there's a lot that goes along with that. and there's pros and cons, but it's coming, and it's coming very fast. The voices are getting better and better and better. And in many cases, I guarantee you that you can't tell the difference. Question then becomes, should you notify your audience? Should you disclose to the audience that this is an AI voice and it's not a live human being? And there's a lot of opinions on that on both sides of it, and I'm not going to take a side on it. I think you've got to decide that with your company. Dave says, in the case of multi-market voice tracking, what are the pricing setups? I voice multiple markets. Would I have to pay separately for all? Answer, Dave, is no. And if you go to Radio Content Pro, set up a demo, or find their, you can email hello@radiocontentpro.com. and they'll walk you through the pricing options, but you don't have to pay for all of the markets. And there are some different things that they've created for voice trackers. So if you're voice tracking, if you're on several markets, you don't have to pay for each of those markets. And you can get all the details by contacting hello@radiocontentpro.com. Let me see if there's any other questions. There's a bunch over in the private Q&A that didn't want to be identified. How do we know the information AI is giving us is accurate, truthful, and verified? There are some things you can put into your prompts to make sure that the AI is doing the best that it can to return accurate information. Now, I'll tell you that this is one of the things that we went through at Radio Content Pro, and one of the reasons it took almost a year to get the app released in early 2024 is because a lot of times the AI would hallucinate from the original source. So the first thing is you want to make sure it's using accurate, truthful, verified sources. And if you tell it, I want you to double check the accuracy of the research and the information that you're creating here, that's great. Another thing is to spot check it. If something doesn't look right to you, if it doesn't sound right to you, Google it, ask it where it got it, what its source was for this, and go to that source, because it could be that the prompt that you gave it has gotten misinterpreted along the way. By the way, the AIs are all much better at this than they were even 3 months ago. You're getting far less of this. But you do want to check that out, especially if you're doing anything stated. If you're using the free version of any of these services, they're probably only sourcing information from 2022 and before. So if you ask it a question about a celebrity who was divorced last year, it might come back with information saying that they're still married, which is obviously inaccurate, but it's because of the sources that they're gathering from. So you've got to make sure that you know what the AI is accessing and what you're asking it to do, and then spot check. If it doesn't look right, double check on it. But it is getting much, much better about that. Would you need to be subscribed to the rating source in order for the AI to put together a report? No. If you have the information and you got wherever you got that information from. Now, wherever you got the ratings information from that you're uploading to the AI, you're probably in violation of the terms and conditions and copyrights of the rating service. So that's between you and the ratings company. But if you've got a full ratings report with a PDF or a spreadsheet and you upload that to the AI, it will analyze that data. It doesn't know where it came from, and it doesn't really care where it came from. So you would be able to access that any way that you access it. But just be careful that you're not doing something by using ratings data that you're not paying for, because if the ratings companies find out that you're doing that, they will come after you. Another question is, which AI programs are the best ones to use for this type of application, ChatGPT or others? That's a common question. I think I answered that. If that's not a good answer, if I haven't given you a good answer for that yet, let me know in the chat and I will go into a little bit more detail. What's the best practice for ethical handling of AI outputs? Can it be copy and pasted without any worry about copyright or plagiarism issues? Of course, assuming that the output has been fact-checked as accurate. Mostly, I believe yes. because the AI is rewriting it. It's very rare when the AI is grabbing something from a source and just copying and pasting it into the response to you. Now, the better your prompt, the more specific your prompt. And that's why I say, tell it your personality, tell it your style, tell it who you are, tell it what its role is. If you follow the guidelines that I gave you in how to prompt today, the AI is going to give you something that has never been written before based on the information it gathered from its original source. So there's no copyright issues at all. Now, plagiarism is another thing. Copyright and plagiarism aren't the same thing. Copyright is you can't use this material because it's intellectual property and you can't just copy and paste it and claim it as yours. Plagiarism is taking someone else's work and rewriting it. Now, plagiarism is a big thing in AI at schools, where a lot of kids are using AI to write reports, to write term papers. And honestly, if they would learn to prompt a little bit better, I don't believe that their professors and teachers would ever be able to tell that it was AI doing it. But not writing a great prompt, they're getting flagged because they can tell that that's not written the way that person would normally write. So that's it. Look, it all comes down to your prompt. It all comes down to understanding how to prompt and getting really, really good at doing these prompts. Another one says, great info today. Thank you. Is there special rates for personalities paying out of their pockets for very small markets? I assume you're talking about Radio Content Pro, and the answer is yes. Once again, contact them. Go to Radio Content Pro and ask for a demo, or just send an email to hello@radiocontentpro.com. Explain your situation, tell them who you are and what is going on. Next question is, if someone in my market is already using RCP, but they're in a different format, is it still possible to use the service? Yes, each of those formats, and there are 7 formats now and 2 more coming, and then there's some more planned in the pipeline down the road. But each of those is market exclusive. So if you, let's say you're on a CHR station and you have the CHR service, which is called RCP Buzz. If there's a rock station that already has RCP Edge, which is the service for rock stations, you would not be able to get RCP Edge, but RCP Buzz would be available to you on your CHR station. So if somebody has one RCP service, you can get a different RCP service. They're completely different. They come from different sources. The content is curated differently, specifically for that format. And there's there'll be some common stories that overlap, but those stories are all curated differently. There wouldn't be any of the same content in there. So yes, you can use, just because RCP is in your market doesn't mean you can't use it as well. But if that particular RCP product is in your market, you can't have that. That is market exclusive. Next question is, can you give a use case or prompt ideas for AI in community engagement? I'd have to think about that for a little while, but here's what I would do. I would go back and walk through the steps, and you could even create a flow chart of what you want. Tell it who you are, tell it what its role is, tell it what you want it to do. Tell it give it examples of what you want it to be. So if you think all of that through, you're basically giving it a use case yourself and saying, here's what I want it to do. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what a good result's going to look like. Now, show me what you got, AI. And the AI will give you an output. And if you don't like the output, you can fine tune it. You can direct it, you can guide it, and you can give it different examples. Next question is, does the AI remember you from visit to visit? It remembers you better than it used to. ChatGPT has a setting where it will remember you, and you can put your personality and your character into it. So that is getting to be better as it goes along. It's not great. What I would do is, if you can write a good, concise, well-targeted character profile for yourself and who you are, put that into your chat at the beginning every time. And then you could paste that in and say, here's a little bit about me. remember this for the rest of the chat. And then it'll say, okay, what do you want to talk about? And then you can give it your instructions inside that chat. Now, if you open up a new chat, you're going to have to start over because it starts it from scratch again. And that's what I would do. By the way, Radio Content Pro is about to launch a character profile generator for you, where you'll be able to click some attributes of who you are and that fit you based on from a selection of a lot of different ones. It'll create your character profile for you. And when you come back and you interact with RCP Sidekick, it will customize that for you so you don't have to enter that into the prompts over and over and over again. Next question, how do you protect yourself from having your own created content, whether that's written or voice content, from being utilized by your competitor or by your own company after you have left the company? Great question. And I'm not an attorney, so I'm not qualified to answer it, but it is a great question. And the number one thing I would say is make sure that you're protected in your employment agreement with your company. And most contracts don't have that in it right now because this is like the wild, wild west. It's brand new. I believe that most attorneys would tell you that if you haven't given permission to use your voice or you're not being compensated for your voice, your company can't use it. And certainly your competitor can't use it. But I got to tell you, chasing it and tracking it down and prosecuting it and doing something about it is going to be a whole other can of worms. And I think we're right on in the early days of trying to figure out what that all means and how it's going to work. So I don't have the answers for you on that one. It's a great question, and I wish I were more qualified to answer that. But I think that we're going to. I think that's going to be a huge question coming up. So yeah, I totally get it. Okay, back to the chat for some questions. Let's see. Thank you for all of your kind comments. A lot of this is reaffirming along with good suggestions to improve what I've been doing already. Thanks, Jeremy. All this is totally over my head. I'm an old radio guy, but then again, computers were over my head 30 years ago, and now I'm running an internet radio station from my apartment. That's right, Chip. You know what? I remember when computers first came in. I tell a story about that. People said that music directors were going to be extinct and the computers were going to take over. Well, it made us more efficient and it made us better. Gino says, why no specific service for urban? And you know what? I made a mistake on that because there is one. There's RCP hip hop. Hip hop is for urban and hip hop stations, rhythmic CHR. And later this summer, hopefully this summer, maybe early fall, there's going to be a classic urban classic. Not sure exactly what it's going to be, whether it'll be classic hip hop, classic urban, or a combination of that. But there's going to be a classic version for urban stations as well. But there's classic hip hop right now that would fit you very well, Gino. So check that out at radiocontentpro.com. And we've also got classic rock / classic hits coming out sometime over the next several weeks. I don't see any other questions on the screen. If you have any other questions about Radio Content Pro, go to radiocontentpro.com. Don't forget to download the slides. You'll be getting an email with a link to the replay later on today. If you want to reach me, you can reach out anytime. Tracy, Tracy, at tjohnsonmediagroup.com.